The neon glow of a 24-hour diner flickered against the rain-slick pavement. Inside, the scent of burnt coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air, a scent Mark Reynolds, fictional name, a seasoned U.S. Marshal, had come to associate with long nights on the road. He sat in a dimly lit booth, his back instinctively to the wall, stirring a cup of coffee he didn't intend to drink. The habit wasn't paranoia, it was survival. A few truckers sat at the counter, grumbling about fuel prices. A waitress with tired eyes and a name tag that read Shirley refilled a cup with muscle memory, her gaze distant, lost in some personal storm. To anyone else it was just another late-night scene in a sleepy town. To Mark, it was the last moment of quiet before everything shattered. Outside, the occasional hiss of passing tires over wet asphalt broke the stillness. A car rolled by, headlights flashing across the window. For a second, Mark's reflection stared back at him. A face that had seen too much, lived through too many close calls. He wasn't supposed to be here. His real destination was still 100 miles away, but something, intuition maybe, had told him to stop. He checked his watch. 2:47 a.m. The unease in his gut deepened. He wasn't on a case, wasn't chasing a fugitive, so why did it feel like trouble was chasing him? As he reached for his wallet, ready to pay and move on, the bell over the diner's door chimed. A pair of officers walked in. Mark didn't flinch, didn't even look up, but a lifetime of training told him one thing. They weren't here for coffee. The night air was thick with humidity, clinging to the skin like an invisible weight. Mark Reynolds kept his grip light on the steering wheel, his mind on the road ahead. The diner was now miles behind him, its neon glow swallowed by the darkness. The highway stretched into nothingness, empty except for the occasional flicker of headlights in the distance. Then came the flash of red and blue in his rearview mirror. Damn! Mark exhaled slowly, keeping his expression neutral as he eased the car onto the shoulder. He wasn't speeding, he wasn't swerving. So why the stop? His fingers rested lightly on the dash as the patrol car rolled up behind him, engine rumbling. A spotlight clicked on, bathing his car in a harsh white glow. Standard intimidation tactic. The crunch of boots against gravel followed. Two figures, their silhouettes moved with purpose, like men who had already decided he was guilty of something. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. It really helps out the channel. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. All right, let's keep going. Mark had been in law enforcement long enough to recognize the difference between routine and something else. A firm rap on the window. License and registration. The voice was sharp, clipped. No greeting. No standard courtesy. Mark moved slowly, careful not to make any sudden motions. He retrieved his wallet, flipping it open to his badge. Marshal Reynolds, United States Marshals Service. His voice was calm, controlled. It should have ended there. But the cop didn't even glance at the badge. Step out of the vehicle. Mark's muscles tensed. I just identified myself as a federal officer. You mind telling me what this is about? The second officer, shorter, stockier with a resting scowl, unclipped the holster on his belt. It was subtle. But Mark caught it. Step out of the car. Now. The weight in the air shifted, heavy with something unspoken. They weren't listening. They didn't care who he was. Mark's heartbeat remained steady, but his instinct screamed, "This isn't right." Still, he moved slowly, opening the door and stepping out. The taller cop, the one in charge, stared him down. "Hands where I can see them." Mark raised them slightly. "Mind telling me what this is about?" "We got a bolo out on a stolen vehicle matching this description. Suspect is armed and dangerous." Mark frowned. "That's a mistake. This is a government-issued—" The shorter cop moved fast. Too fast. Before Mark could react, he was shoved against the hood of his car. Adrenaline surged, but he forced himself to stay still. He could have taken them both in less than 10 seconds. But taking down local cops, no matter how wrong they were, would only escalate things. "I don't know what you think you're doing," Mark said, voice level, "but you're making a mistake." The taller cop leaned in. There was something in his eyes, something beyond just following orders. "Oh, I don't think so," he murmured. And that's when Mark realized this wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. The cold bite of metal locked around Mark Reynolds' wrist. Handcuffs. He exhaled slowly, controlling his breath, his pulse, every instinct screaming at him to fight back. But he didn't. Not yet. The taller cop, name badge reading Dawson, gave the cuffs an extra yank, his smirk barely visible under the glow of the highway lights. "What's the matter, Marshal? You don't like being on the other side of this?" Mark didn't answer. He was too busy piecing it together. 2 local cops. A stolen vehicle bolo. An accusation of being armed and dangerous. This wasn't random. Someone wanted him off the board. Dawson shoved him against the hood of his car. Hard. Guess the feds think they're untouchable, huh? Mark clenched his jaw. Wrong move, wrong words. Someone was looking for a reason. The shorter cop, Martinez, stepped in closer. "We got a witness ID on you at a gas station robbery earlier tonight. Matched your face." There it was. Mark shook his head. "That's impossible. I've been on the road for hours." Dawson leaned in. "You saying the witness is lying?" Mark locked eyes with him. "I'm saying someone is lying to you." Martinez hesitated. For a split second doubt flickered in his expression. But Dawson? He had already made up his mind. "We got orders. To bring you in. That's exactly what we're gonna do. Orders, not procedure, not standard protocol. Orders." Mark didn't like the way that sounded. "Call it in," Martinez muttered. "Let's confirm his ID." "No need," Dawson cut him off, yanking Mark upright. "We got our guy. No radio call, no verification." They weren't taking him in for questioning. They were taking him off the street. Mark's heartbeat stayed steady, but his mind was racing. This wasn't about mistaken identity. Someone had set this up, and whoever it was, they had local cops in their pocket. The distant hum of the highway was the only sound as Dawson grabbed Mark by the arm and yanked him toward the squad car. "You're making a mistake," Mark warned. Dawson chuckled. "Yeah? Tell it to the judge." They were 10 feet from the car when Mark felt it, the shift. Martinez was fidgeting, checking the time, darting uneasy glances at Dawson. Something wasn't sitting right with him. "Dawson," Martinez muttered. "Maybe we should—" The radio on Dawson's shoulder crackled to life. "Dispatch to Unit 47. We ran the plates, confirming that vehicle is registered to the U.S. Marshal Service." Silence. Mark watched Dawson's jaw tighten. He reached up, switched the radio off. Didn't respond. Martinez took a step back. "Hold on. If that's true, then he's—" "Shut up," Dawson snapped. Mark's pulse slowed. That was it. That was proof. This wasn't about an arrest. Dawson had no intention of letting him get to a police station. Martinez hesitated. "Dawson, maybe we should—" Mark moved. A sharp pivot. A hard step back. Dawson hadn't expected it. Leverage. Center of gravity. Mark twisted his cuffed wrists under and around Dawson's grip, then drove his shoulder into the cop's chest. Dawson stumbled, losing his grip. And that was all Mark needed. He dropped low, pivoted. Martinez flinched, but Mark wasn't attacking. Not yet. Instead, he ran, not away, forward, straight toward Dawson's squad car. If he could get to the radio, get to his badge, his credentials, this could still end without bloodshed. Dawson recovered fast. "Stop, stop!" Mark heard the snap of a gun being drawn. Then, a single gunshot split the night. The gunshot wasn't meant to hit him. Mark knew the sound of a warning shot when he heard one. Close enough to make him stop, far enough to keep him alive. He froze, hands still raised, breath steady. His mind worked at lightning speed, cataloging every variable. One gun drawn, one officer uncertain, and one clear motive behind it all. Dawson kept his pistol aimed squarely at Mark's chest. A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. He was enjoying this. "Not so fast, Marshal." Dawson's voice dripped with something that wasn't just authority. It was control. Martinez's face had gone pale. "Dawson, what the hell are we doing?" His voice wavered, uncertain now. The doubt was creeping in. Mark turned his gaze to him. That was the weak link. "You're in over your head," Mark said, voice even, controlled. "You think this is just about a stolen car? A mistaken identity?" He kept his eyes locked on Martinez, ignoring Dawson entirely, letting him feel invisible. Dawson hated that. You don't get to talk, Dawson barked. He stepped closer, pressing the gun under Mark's jaw. You don't get to. Then pull the trigger. Mark cut him off. His voice was calm, cold. The barrel pressed, deeper against his skin. Martinez stiffened, but Dawson didn't shoot because this wasn't about killing Mark. It was about controlling him, which meant Dawson wasn't the one pulling the strings. Mark tilted his head just enough to meet Dawson's eyes. Who's giving? You orders? For the first time, Dawson hesitated. There it is. Martinez took a cautious step back. Wait. What? He looked at Dawson, then at Mark. What's he talking about? Dawson recovered quickly, pressing forward. Shut up, Martinez. Mark's lips barely moved. They sent you out here to bury me, didn't they? Dawson's eye twitched. Bullseye. Martinez was blinking fast now, trying to process what Mark had just said. He wasn't in on it. Not fully. Dawson saw the crack forming and lunged to fill it. He's lying? Dawson snapped. This guy's got a federal badge, but that doesn't mean he's clean. Do you know how many corrupt feds are out there? He turned to Martinez, eyes blazing. You want to throw your career away for some guy we don't even know? Martinez hesitated. Mark took a slow breath. He didn't have much time before Martinez folded under pressure. He turned toward the younger cop, locking eyes with him. They sent you out here because you're just following orders, right? Mark asked. Martinez swallowed hard. We were just told to bring you in, Mark nodded. By who? Silence. Dawson's grip tightened around his gun, and then a new voice crackled through Dawson's radio. Unit 47. What's your status? A different voice this time, lower, older, a voice that belonged to someone who didn't belong on a routine traffic stop. Mark saw Dawson's knuckles whiten. The radio crackled again. Dawson, confirm. Is he secured? No standard call signs. No request for ID verification, just a demand. Mark's blood ran cold. This was bigger than just dirty cops. Dawson didn't answer right away. His eyes darted to Martinez. He was deciding something. The air shifted. Mark could feel the moment the balance tipped. Dawson turned back to him. Something new behind his eyes. Determination. Desperation. Get in the car, he ordered. Mark didn't. Move. Dawson clicked the safety off. This just became life or death. The air between them was razor thin, stretched tight like a tripwire waiting to snap. Mark Reynolds kept his hands up, his pulse steady, but his mind was working double time. Dawson still had his gun trained on him, but Mark could see the slight tremor in his grip. Not fear. Frustration. Things weren't going the way he expected. And Martinez? He was unraveling. You heard that radio call? Mark said evenly. His voice was measured, controlled, picking apart the pieces like a surgeon. That wasn't dispatch. That wasn't a routine check-in. That was someone who doesn't want me walking away from this. Martinez licked his lips, his fingers twitching near his holster. Doubt. That was all Mark needed. Dawson, we should... Shut up, Martinez! Dawson barked, his grip on the gun tightening. He's playing you. That's what feds do. Mark's gaze didn't waver. Check my credentials, run my badge number. Hell, call the marshal's office. He spoke directly to Martinez now. You know something's off about this. If you were really taking me in, why hasn't he called it in? Martinez's breathing was uneven. He knew Mark was right. But he was trapped, torn between his badge and his gut. And then the radio crackled again. Dawson, we said secure him. No more delays. You know what to do. Silence. The order was clear. No arrest, no processing. Just elimination. Martinez took a full step back. Wait, what the hell does that mean? His voice wavered, but his hand was on his weapon now. Dawson's jaw clenched. It means we follow orders. Mark saw it coming before it happened. The moment. Dawson turned. The moment his finger flexed over the trigger, Mark moved. In one fluid motion, Mark twisted to the side. Dawson's shot went wide, the bullet slicing through empty air where his head had been a second ago. Martinez panicked. His gun came up, but he didn't fire. Indecision was written all over his face. Mark didn't hesitate. He pivoted, driving, his cuffed hands up and under Dawson's wrist, forcing the barrel away. 1 step. 2. He turned Dawson's own momentum against him. yanking the taller man off balance. A heartbeat later, Dawson's gun was in Mark's hands. Martinez staggered. Backward, eyes wide, gun shaking in his grip. "Stop! Stop!" he shouted. Dawson gasped, trying to recover, his own cuffs now digging into his wrist. Mark took a slow breath. He had control. "For now. This ends now," he said, his voice cold. "Martinez, call it in." Martinez shook his head. I can't." Mark narrowed his eyes. "You can? You know this is wrong? You know this isn't procedure." Martinez swallowed hard. His finger twitched on the trigger. Then, headlights, bright, blinding. A car pulled up fast, tires crunching. Against gravel, sleek, blacked-out windows. No markings. Mark's stomach dropped. This was who Dawson was waiting for. The doors swung open. 2 men in suits stepped out. No badges, no names, just presence. Mark knew exactly what they were. Not cops, not marshals. Something else. And for the first time tonight, he wasn't sure how this was going to end. The world slowed. The blacked-out sedan idled just feet away, headlights still burning through the dust and darkness. 2 men, crisp suits, no badges, no names. But Mark Reynolds had seen their type before. Not law enforcement, not oversight. Something worse. Martinez was still frozen, gun shaking in his grip. Dawson was breathing hard, wrists still trapped in his own cuffs, eyes darting between Mark and the new arrivals. And the 2 men. They weren't surprised to see Mark still standing. One of them stepped forward, tall, cold eyes, a man who had given orders before. "Marshal Reynolds," he said smoothly.
"You're coming with us. Not put your hands up. Not drop the weapon. You're coming with us." Mark didn't lower the gun. "You got a badge to go with that demand?" A small smirk. "We both know I don't need one." Dawson let out a sharp
breath, the kind of breath a man takes when he realizes he's not in control anymore. "This isn't how it was supposed to go," he muttered under his breath. Mark caught it. So did Martinez. Slowly, Mark turned his attention to Dawson. The way his eyes flickered, not just fear. Regret. This was never about mistaken identity, was it? Mark's voice was low, deadly. A statement, not a question. Dawson swallowed hard. Didn't answer. The suited man did. No, it wasn't. Martinez sucked in a breath. What? His gun hand dropped slightly. What the hell does that mean? Mark already knew. It meant someone had put a target on his back, someone powerful, someone who had the pull to manipulate local law enforcement into doing their dirty work. Martinez turned on Dawson. You knew. Dawson's jaw tightened. I didn't know it was him. He shot a glare at the suited man. You told me this was just cleanup. Plans change, the man said simply. Mark exhaled. Dawson was dirty, sure. But even he hadn't expected things to go this far, which meant Mark wasn't the only one being used. Martinez took 2 shaky steps back. Everything was crumbling in real time. This isn't right, he stammered. This isn't how it's supposed to go down. The suited man gave him a slow, measured look. And yet here we are. Mark had seen this before. Men in power making, pawns out of people who thought they were in control. And then he made a decision. In one swift motion, he tossed the gun. It landed at Martinez's feet. Martinez's eyes snapped up, wide and alarmed. What the hell are you doing? Mark locked eyes with him. Your choice, Martinez. Dawson stiffened. The suited man just watched, waiting. Martinez's breath came fast. This was it. The moment. Mark could almost hear the war in his head. Stay silent. And live in ignorance, or take a stand and blow it all apart. Martinez clenched his jaw, and made his choice. Slowly he bent down, picked up the gun, and pointed it at the suited man. You're gonna explain exactly what the hell is going on, he demanded. Mark almost smiled. Not bad, kid. But then, the suited man smirked. You should have stayed out of this. And before Martinez could react, a third car pulled up. Black. Government plates. More men stepped out. Dawson let out a shaky breath. Oh, hell. Mark's pulse slowed. Not in fear, in preparation. This wasn't over. It was just getting started. The new arrivals moved like shadows, efficient, silent, and dangerous. 4 men, same black suits, same cold, unreadable faces. But Mark wasn't looking at them. He was watching the man who had spoken first, because he wasn't nervous. He wasn't scrambling to cover his tracks or explain the situation. He was calm, because this was his game. Martinez was still gripping the gun, his hands shaking, but the realization was settling in. This isn't just about him, is it? Martinez's voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper, like he already knew the answer. The suited man smirked. No, it's not. Mark felt the weight of it. Whatever this was, it was bigger than him. Bigger than some local cops on a payroll. You were never after me, Mark said, piecing it together. You were cleaning up something else, and I just got in the way. The suited man tilted his head, considering. Then he shrugged. Perhaps. Dawson let out a sharp breath. You set us up. The suited man didn't deny it. Mark turned slightly, just enough to see Dawson's face. His hands were balled into fists. His chest was rising and falling too fast. And suddenly Mark saw it. Dawson wasn't the mastermind. He was just another pawn. You weren't supposed to walk away from this, Mark told him. They were tying up loose ends. Dawson stiffened. Bullshit. Mark held his gaze. Then ask yourself this. Why are they still here? Dawson blinked. Because the job was done. If they had only wanted Mark taken in, the moment had passed. So why were they still standing there? Because there was another name on the list, and Dawson just realized it was his. Mark inhaled slowly. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was about finding out who was pulling the strings, and stopping them. The suited man smiled, like he could see Mark working through it, like he enjoyed it. You should have stayed off the radar, Marshal. Mark exhaled. Yeah, I get that a lot. The suited man gave a small nod to his men. Take care of them. Mark didn't wait. He moved, and the night exploded into chaos. The scent of burnt rubber and gunpowder still clung to the air. Mark Reynolds stood at the edge of the highway, his muscles taut, breath steady, eyes scanning the horizon. The bodies were gone. The black SUVs? Vanished. Martinez was slumped against the patrol car, clutching his arm, shaken, but alive. Dawson hadn't been so lucky. The cleanup had been fast, too fast. Whoever those men were, they didn't just operate in the shadows. They owned them. Mark ran a hand over his jaw, feeling the sting of a fresh bruise. This wasn't over. Not even close. They had tried to erase him. Failed. Now, they'd wish they had finished the job. A lone semi rumbled past, its headlights carving through the darkness. Mark turned, stepping into the night. Because this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was a hunt. And Mark Reynolds never left things unfinished. He exhaled slowly, voice barely above a whisper, but a promise nonetheless. They tried to arrest me, but now I'm coming for them. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. Don't forget to tap the bell icon to stay updated. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Your support means the world